Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. So media lessons learned from past political campaigns. So Michael here has lived in DC, so he's seen all the shenanigans that happen in that fantastic town. But we're not talking about House of Cards or scandal here. We're talking about lessons that agencies and brands can take to their clients from those that they can see with the political campaigns. So are there similarities that can be implemented by brands and agencies with what they see in the political
absolutely,
world?
absolutely. So I think kind of first and foremost is recognizing that although we work in the political space, and that's a very important category, we're not a political agency. We actually work as a service arm to political agencies like we would with many of the agencies here in this room or elsewhere. So political for us is another category like QSR or financial services, but it's really interesting of kind of seeing the lessons that brands can learn, because when you look at the political cycle, a lot of us in this room, we kind of work quarter to quarter and year to year, and it kind of just ebbs along. But this political thing spikes every 2 years. So imagine kind of going dormant for 2 years and then coming back, and the world looks a little bit different. You wake up and you kind of start doing things a little differently. I think one of the big things that we've really seen from 14 to 16 was this whole promise around kind of hyper-targeting that a lot of campaigns use. So they ingested a ton of data, a lot of their own first-party data, and then third-party data, voter registration lists. We saw this in 14, and then they tried to get really hyper about reaching people. And what happened is that they just fell out of scale. They just did not have enough scale to reach these people. So that's a really important concept, is just because you have the tool doesn't mean you use it to the nth degree with the tool. So I think they've kind of come back and realized that targeting does have a place, but you just don't want to get it to so low where you have no scale and no ability to really reach any of the people it can influence.
Great. So there are lessons to be learned, because in the political arena, it's a one-day sale, as you've
It's a one-day sale, yeah. It's not a 3-day sale. It's not a Columbus Day sale. It's a one-day sale.
And so with the local targeting that the political campaigns are able to do, actually brands can implement that as well, equally as effectively.
Yeah, and so one would think that they could just go in and buy on national sites and then geo-target. One of the interesting things that we really learned from politicians is that they really value local. So if you're a national name, Hillary Clinton, and you want to be seen as a local community member in Iowa or Nevada or New Hampshire, you're going to align yourself with the local news and information sites. You're going to be buying high-impact homepage takeovers. You're going to have a consistent presence on that. And that's difficult to do at scale if you're talking about 20 battleground states and 30 to 40 DMAs. So having a partner that can really help you execute that, have those insights that they can bring to the table, and then execute that is really critical. But that local context for them really makes them seem like they're part of the community, and that's an important benefit. I think a lot of brands sometimes overlook that, about how important it is to be a part of the community. You see that a lot with clearly financial services, from a corporate and social responsibility. You see that a lot with QSR. They do a very good job with that, and certainly auto, about being a part of the community.
So local can be hard too. So if you're a brand advertiser and you're going out nationally, and then you're like, okay, there's certain areas I want to target, that can be difficult.
Definitely. I mean, local is, as we all know, if anybody's kind of done it, it's weedy, it's complex. You're dealing with a lot of different publishers. And so one of the things that we work with is effective planning on the front end, the kind of consumer insights that we have about making the right choices, and then actually executing. We have a tremendous footprint in terms of publisher relationships where we make it all very, very turnkey. And I think that's one of the things that, that the political campaigns like. I mean, they're moving really fast. Everybody in here, I know, has deadlines and works late at night. These political shops, it's truly unreal about how fast they have to move and how quickly they have to change copy or get on. So having somebody that can do that, a one-stop shop where they can make one call and then have it distributed throughout 20 to 30 DMAs with potentially 5 to 7 publishers in each DMA, it's quite extraordinary.
And programmatic is a big topic, but these local campaigns kind of also do site direct. Can you merge the two?
Absolutely. I mean, I think what we've seen and what we saw in 14 with the campaigns is that there was not a real neat access point to get into the local sites, and they couldn't find them. There was no discoverability on either trading desk or at DSPs. So one of the things that we realized is that we could provide a value of aggregating these publisher relationships, putting them into a political private marketplace, so they could be buying local inventory at scale programmatically, where then they can use their own DSP, where then they can take their data and be able to make effective decisioning around local news and information sites. So it's working pretty well so far.
So you mentioned a couple categories that are doing it well, QSRs being one. Others?
Yeah, I think QSR is one. Obviously, Tier 2 and Tier 3 auto have always been leaders. The nice thing about both of those categories, financial services is another one that we've seen a lot of strong activity, and even pharma, which is interesting, right? So pharma, you would think is just a big national kind of, you can just put it in a CPG category, but pharma really understands the different nuances between the different markets and how important not only it is to be embedded in those markets and have some sort of local context, but also about how a local market can provide a lift. You know, it's almost like a kind of a high funnel, using national for high funnel, and then using really locally targeted campaigns for low funnel acquisition type campaigns. And that's really what you see with politics, is that they'll run national. Right now it's all about persuasion and hopefully getting a few people out of the Republican race, so more of them start spending money. But it's right now about getting the persuasion done. But as we get closer to election, it becomes much more about activation, and you can kind of think of that as a low funnel activity.
So are there three things that the agencies here in the room should think about for their clients as they keep doing the national branding but then start targeting locally?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a lot of the consistent things that we all do in this room all the time, right? I mean, so the first is kind of knowing that customer and really targeting effectively, and the more data that you have and the more data that you can get, not only through your own resources but through third parties, and really relying on your vendors to help make those targeting decisions and help, you know, use those resources. We're part of a big company, Cox. We have a lot of resources, so we help both, you know, from campaigns as well as brands make those decisions. So targeting is definitely one. Really understanding the context of where you're placing your media and how that may help. And then, like anything, it's measure and improve. Figure out what you're doing, iterate, and have a partner that can help you make those changes as you're, you know, as you're in the campaign or shortly thereafter.
Great. Are there questions from the audience? One last question from me then.
I don't know who's going to win.
So the political campaigns are coming up. There's got to be a lot of money funneling in. Should brands be worried?
I think they shouldn't be worried. They should just be prepared, right? I think worried's a kind of a loaded word. I think the big issue is understanding, you know, I think what will be in 16, which we haven't seen in digital, you see in television, is going to follow a lot of television. So if you're also, you know, planning and executing television, especially on a local basis, you know that there's these 45-day political windows when everything goes haywire and preemptions and it becomes complete chaos. I think you're going to see a lot of that with digital, which we haven't seen in the past. I think obviously digital video will continue to, any scarcity issues you have now will just get accentuated because campaigns really love digital video. We've already booked a significant amount of activity with high impact homepage takeovers around key election days. So if that's part of your strategy, I'd say get on it now and start, you know, taking some of that stuff off the shelf. Anything that's perishable, anything that has a limited supply, if it's part of your strategy for next year, I'd say plan for it now, get your clients activated to at least take that stuff off the table so that you're not left without a chair when the music stops.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.